I never thought I'd be the kind of guy writing a story like this. My name is Mike, and I've been married to Sarah for 8 years. On the surface, we had what many would consider a perfect life. We had a nice house, decent jobs, and even a golden retriever named Buddy. But as I soon found out, appearances can be deceiving. The signs were subtle at first. Sarah started coming home late from her yoga classes, claiming they'd transitioned into social gatherings with the other moms. At first, I bought it. I mean, who doesn't want to unwind with a little zen after a long day? But soon, I noticed more oddities, her phone buzzing constantly, her laughter echoing through the house after late-night girl talks with friends. The way she'd glance at her phone, the way she'd quickly shove it in her pocket when I walked into the room, it all felt off. Then there was the time she forgot my birthday. That hurt more than I'd like to admit. I chalked it up to stress at work. Yes, she was juggling a demanding job as a marketing executive and being a mom, but to forget a day we'd always celebrated, it gnawed at me. I tried to brush it aside, convincing myself I was being paranoid, but still, that knot in my stomach twisted tighter every day. Then came the fateful night when everything changed. I had come home early from work, planning to surprise her with a nice dinner. I had a bottle of wine chilling in the fridge and some of her favorite pasta boiling on the stove. As I walked into the house, I noticed things were eerily quiet. Normally, I'd hear her chatting with Buddy or maybe even singing along to the radio. Instead, there was only silence. Curiosity pulled me to the living room, and that's when I saw it, a message on her phone lighting up the screen from a number I didn't recognize. It read, "Can't wait to see you tonight, babe." My heart dropped. The name didn't ring a bell, but I could feel the blood rush in my ears. My first instinct was to confront her right then and there, but I paused. I needed proof. I needed something solid to go off of. I tiptoed around, my heart pounding, searching for more evidence. I found it in the bottom of her gym bag, an envelope with a ticket stub for a soccer game. It was 2 rows back from the field, something I knew was a good seat. But the kicker, it was for a game featuring a player named Liam Hart, a rising star who had been in the news lately. There were whispers about his charm and looks, but more importantly, whispers about his connections with certain attractive women. As I pieced everything together, I felt a mix of anger and sickness swirling in my gut. I wasn't just dealing with infidelity, this was a full-blown betrayal. My mind raced, imagining the worst. What would I say? How would I even approach her about this? I need to have everything laid out for her. My heart felt heavy, but I had to confront her. I had to know. I waited for what felt like an eternity for Sarah to come home, rehearsing in my mind what I would say. When she finally walked through the door, her smile lit up the room, but I couldn't reciprocate. Instead, I stood there, arms crossed, my face a mask of betrayal. "Hey babe, I'm back," she chirped, blissfully unaware. "Yeah, we need to talk," I managed to say. Her expression immediately shifted, and I could see the flicker of panic in her eyes. "About what?" I took a deep breath, trying to gather my thoughts while the anger bubbled inside me. "About you and Liam Hart." The look on her face was one of disbelief. "What are you talking about?" she asked, feigning innocence, though I could see the cracks forming in her facade. I pulled out the ticket stub and waved it in front of her, my hands shaking. "What is this, Sarah? Ain't this to me?" Her reaction was immediate. The sweet facade melted away, replaced by a defensive posture. "Okay, okay, it was just a game, it doesn't mean anything," she exclaimed, her tone shifting from shock to irritation. "Just a game," I echoed, incredulity seeping into my voice. "You're lying. I know something is going on between you and him." I could feel the weight of my words hanging in the air, and I could almost see her mind racing to come up with an excuse. "Mike, you're overreacting. Liam is just a friend, you know how I like to be friendly with people," she said, but her voice lacked the conviction it usually held, the tone more defensive than apologetic. I stared at her, feeling like I was staring at a stranger. The woman I knew, the woman I loved, was lying right in front of me. It felt surreal, but I wasn't just going to let this slide. I needed to get to the bottom of this, and soon. As I stared into her eyes, I realized that this was not just about her betrayal, it was about my dignity. I deserved better. The emotional impact of that night was like a whirlwind. I felt anger bubbling up like a pot boiling over, sadness creeping in like a shadow. I didn't know how to handle the range of emotions swirling around inside me. I was hurt, but I was also furious. I felt betrayed, yet I was still clinging to the memories of our good times, the laughter we shared, and the love we once had. I had a decision to make. Did I fight for this marriage, or was it time to move on? I was sinking into despair, but I also felt a flicker of resolve igniting within me. If she thought she could get away with this, she was sorely mistaken. I needed a plan, something to turn this situation around, and I was ready to take action. This was only the beginning. Let me know when you want to hear the next part. After that night, things changed drastically. The once warm atmosphere of our home turned frigid. I didn't sleep much, and when I did, my dreams were consumed by images of Sarah's betrayal. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her laughing with Liam at that soccer game, her head thrown back, her hair cascading over her shoulders like a waterfall of affection for someone who wasn't me. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal, and it gnawed at me like a relentless parasite. In the days that followed, Sarah and I tiptoed around each other, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. She tried to act normally, but I could see the cracks. She would try to initiate casual conversations, but the lightness in her voice felt forced. I couldn't bring myself to participate in her attempts at normalcy. It was exhausting and, frankly, it made me even angrier. I started doing my own digging. I became a detective in my own life, combing through Sarah's social media, her text messages, anything I could find that might give me more insight into her deception. I knew it wasn't healthy, but I needed to know what I was up against. Each notification that popped up on her phone sent my heart racing. I felt like I was on the brink of discovering a hidden truth that could either shatter me completely or empower me. One evening, while she was in the shower, I decided to take a chance. I grabbed her phone and with shaking hands opened it. I was greeted by the usual barrage of notifications, but then I found what I was looking for, a string of messages between Sarah and Liam that made my blood boil. They were flirty, filled with emojis and inside jokes, and the more I read, the more disgusted I became. Things escalated quickly. I found messages that hinted at secret meetups, late-night phone calls, and even playful banter about real chemistry. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. This wasn't just an innocent friendship, this was a full-blown affair. I could feel the heat rising in my chest, rage bubbling to the surface. I couldn't hold back anymore. I confronted her that night, waves of anger crashing over me. "So you think I wouldn't find out, huh? You think you can just keep lying to my face?" I yelled, tossing the phone on the kitchen table like it was a ticking time bomb. Sarah stepped back, her face paling. "What are you talking about?" she gasped, though the fear in her eyes told me she already knew. "Cut the crap, Sarah. I read your messages. You and Liam are more than friends, and you know it." I shouted, feeling the room spin with adrenaline, her facade cracked completely. "You don't understand. It's not what you think," she stammered, her voice wavering. "Then what is it? You're telling me that flirting with him, meeting him, sharing those intimate messages is not what I think?" I shot back, my voice rising. "You're cheating on me. You've shattered everything we built together." She opened her mouth as if to argue, but no words came out. Instead, she burst into tears, her body shaking as she tried to plead with me. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I was just feeling so lonely. We've been drifting apart." Lonely. I felt my heart shatter even further. I had given her everything I could. I had supported her career, cheered her on when she needed it, and now she was saying I wasn't enough. "Lonely," I echoed, my voice low and filled with disbelief. "You chose to cheat instead of talking to me. You're a coward, Sarah." Her tears didn't move me. I felt like I was watching a stranger, someone I once loved and trusted, and that love was being replaced with a cold sense of betrayal and anger. In that moment, something inside me snapped. I realized I wasn't just going to sit back and let her destroy our life together while pursuing her twisted fantasy with this soccer player. I needed to channel my pain into something more powerful: revenge. I started researching Liam Hart. I wanted to know everything about him, the clubs he played for, his career trajectory, and most importantly, his vulnerabilities. I wasn't looking to destroy him because of who he was as a person. That wasn't the point. I wanted to show Sarah that her actions had consequences, that she couldn't just waltz into my life and break my heart while simultaneously ruining another man's career, all for her selfish desires. I dug deep, and it turned out Liam had a reputation, one that involved questionable behavior off the field. Rumors of doping circulated but had never been substantiated. This was my chance. I could expose him and watch as everything he had built crumbled, all because of his affair with my wife. I spent the next few days meticulously laying the groundwork. I gathered evidence, messages exchanged between Sarah and Liam that detailed their affair, and started contacting journalists who had been covering rumors about Liam's questionable practices. I knew that if I played my cards right, I could leak this information and bring his career crashing down, and I'd be doing it all while Sarah watched. It was a dark path I was stepping onto, but I was determined. I wanted her to feel the pain I felt. I wanted her to see that the man she chose over me was no hero, but rather a fallen star who could easily be snuffed out. As I began plotting my revenge, I felt a rush of power coursing through me. I was no longer the victim. I was in control of my destiny. I could turn the tables, and I was ready to do whatever it took to make her regret her choices. Let me know when you'd like to hear the next part. The days turned into a blur of planning and strategizing. I felt like I was part of a twisted game, where each move I made would either lead to victory or expose my own pain. The adrenaline rush was intoxicating, and with every step I took, I felt more and more like a puppet master pulling the strings. I spent hours researching how to expose an athlete effectively. Doping scandals were serious business, and if I wanted to bring Liam down, I needed to do it right. I combed through forums, read articles on similar cases, and even looked into the legal ramifications of whistleblowing. I knew the risks, but the thought of Sarah's face when everything unraveled fueled my determination. I started reaching out to a few trustworthy sports journalists, those known for breaking serious stories. I crafted a carefully worded email that detailed Liam's alleged drug use, intertwining it with the evidence I had collected from Sarah's messages and social media interactions. I made sure to remain anonymous, fearing that if I revealed my identity, it would backfire. The more I worked on this, the more I felt the weight of my decision. I wasn't just going after Liam, I was also dragging Sarah into this mess. But then I remembered her laughter, her lies, and the way she had shattered my trust. I told myself that she deserved this. She needed to understand the gravity of her actions. After days of meticulous preparation, I finally hit send. My heart raced as I watched the little sent notification flash on my screen. It felt like I'd just ignited a bomb, and I was standing back to watch the fireworks. I had no idea how long it would take for the story to break or how it would escalate, but I was ready for the aftermath. In the days that followed, I kept an eye on the news. Each report about Liam felt like a countdown. Each mention of his name sent a jolt of exhilaration through me. And then, just as I had hoped, the story broke. It started as a small blurb, a simple mention of rumors swirling around his performance-enhancing drug use. But I knew that it wouldn't stay small for long. The media loved a good scandal, especially one involving a rising star. I watched the fallout unfold. Reporters dug deeper, and before long the story exploded. Liam's name was everywhere, first on local channels, then national news. As accusations piled on and more evidence surfaced, I felt a sick satisfaction. I could practically hear the panic in Sarah's voice when she saw it. It didn't take long. Just a few days after the initial reports, I came home to find Sarah sitting on the couch, her face pale and her eyes wide with disbelief. She was clutching her phone, scrolling through article after article detailing everything I had set in motion. Her world was crashing down, and I felt like I was watching a slow-motion train wreck. "Mike, what is happening?" she asked, her voice trembling. I could see the fear in her eyes, and for a moment it felt good to know she was scared. "What does it look like, Sarah?" I replied, crossing my arms. "It's the consequences of your actions. You thought you could cheat on me and get away with it, didn't you?" She stood up, her hands shaking as she tried to process what was happening. "You can't just do this. You can't ruin his career over a mistake," she pleaded, desperation creeping into her tone. "A mistake? I echoed, incredulous. You call cheating on your husband and lying to me a mistake. That's not just a mistake, Sarah, that's a choice, and now you see the fallout. Please, Mike, I was confused. I never meant for it to go this far. It was just fun. She cried, her voice rising as panic set in. Fun. It was fun to you. You have no idea what you've done. The man you chose to betray me with is losing everything, all because of your choices. I shot back, my anger flaring again. The reality of the situation was dawning on her, and I could see her defenses crumbling. For the first time, she looked vulnerable, stripped of the bravado she had worn like armor. You think this is some kind of game? She asked, her voice breaking. You're going to ruin a man's life over this. You think that makes you better? I took a deep breath, the weight of her words hitting me. I didn't see myself as better. I saw myself as a man who had simply run out of options. You started this, Sarah. You brought this into our lives, and now you want to pretend it doesn't matter. She looked away, tears streaming down her cheeks. I'm sorry, I really am, but this isn't right. You're hurting people just as much as I did. Maybe so, I replied, my voice quieter now. But your affair had real consequences, and I'm showing you that. I want you to feel this pain, to understand what you've done to me. Her gaze dropped to the floor, and I could see the guilt washing over her. What do you want from me? She asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. I want you to feel the weight of your choices. I want you to understand that you can't just play with people's hearts and lives without repercussions. I said, my conviction unwavering. I could see the wheels turning in her head, the realization of what she had lost hitting her like a freight train. In that moment, I knew I had made my point. But as her pain became evident, I felt a flicker of conflict rise within me. Was this really the path I wanted to take? I had set out to destroy Liam not just for his sake, but to punish Sarah for her betrayal. Yet as I watched her break down, I couldn't help but wonder if I was becoming the villain in my own story. Was revenge worth the cost? Would this really help me heal? In that moment of doubt, I knew I had a choice to make. Let me know when you want to continue with the next part. As the days passed, the fallout from the scandal continued to escalate, but so did my internal conflict. Watching Sarah crumble under the weight of her actions was both satisfying and disheartening. I was determined to prove a point, but I was also beginning to realize that the path of revenge had its own repercussions. The media storm surrounding Liam Hart grew more intense. Mainstream outlets reported on his abrupt suspension, while social media exploded with memes, hashtags, and opinions. I found myself glued to my phone, relishing every new piece of news, feeling a twisted sense of justice for my pain. But each time I saw a new article, I also saw Sarah, sitting on the couch, her face pale, her eyes brimming with tears. One night I returned home to find her sitting in the dark, lit only by the soft glow of her phone. She was scrolling through comments on social media, comments that ranged from harsh criticisms of Liam to sympathetic messages directed at her. My heart sank at the sight. The emotions swirling within me became harder to ignore. Sarah, I said softly, stepping into the room, you're not going to fix this by scrolling through people's opinions. She turned to me, her expression a mixture of anger and hurt. How can you say that? You've ruined his life. You think I'm just going to sit here and not feel anything? I loved him. I thought I did. And now he's losing everything because of us. Because of you. I snapped, barely holding back my frustration. You chose to betray our marriage. You made that decision. I just showed you the consequences. The silence that followed was deafening. We stared at each other in the dim light, and I could see the pain etched on her face. For a brief moment, I hesitated. Was I really doing this for her, for myself? Or was it just an outlet for my own hurt? Mike, she said quietly, her voice shaking. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but this is beyond what? I'm trying to make you understand what you did. I thought you were better than this. My voice cracked, and I felt anger giving way to something deeper, grief, sadness, betrayal. I thought I was too, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. I thought I could have a little fun without it meaning anything, but I was wrong. I didn't realize how serious it was, how serious it would get. I sank down onto the couch across from her, running a hand through my hair. You had every chance to talk to me, Sarah. To tell me you were feeling lonely or neglected. But instead you chose to cheat, and now look where we are. I know, she said, her voice breaking, but can't we find a way to fix this? I don't want to lose you, Mike. I don't want to lose everything. A lump formed in my throat. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to hear the sincerity in her voice and see the remorse in her eyes, but my heart was still raw and trust was a fragile thing. How can I trust you again? How can we move forward after this? I don't know, she admitted, tears streaming down her cheeks. But I'm willing to try. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this right, to make it up to you. I'm so sorry for everything. Her vulnerability hit me hard. Beneath her guilt, I could see a flicker of the woman I once loved, the woman I thought I knew. But the road to forgiveness wouldn't be easy. It would take time, and I wasn't sure if I was ready to walk that path. I need time, I finally said, my voice steady but filled with uncertainty. I need to think about everything that's happened, about us, about Liam. I don't want to make any hasty decisions when I'm still so angry. Okay, she said, wiping her tears with trembling hands. I'll give you that, just please don't shut me out completely. As the days passed, I started to question my motivations for revenge. The thrill of watching Liam's career unravel was fading, replaced by a sense of emptiness. I realized that while I had been focused on punishing them both, I hadn't considered what it would mean for my own heart and future. I made a decision. I would pull back from my vendetta. I would let the storm around Liam play out without my interference. I didn't want to be the architect of his downfall anymore. That wasn't who I was. Instead, I needed to focus on my own healing. I needed to find out if there was still something worth salvaging in my marriage with Sarah. That evening, as I sat down with her, I finally spoke the words I had been holding back. Sarah, this won't be easy, but I think it's important for us to go to couples therapy. We need to work through this together if we can. I want to understand why this happened and see if we can rebuild our trust. Her eyes lit up with hope. Really? You're willing to try? I am, I said, feeling a cautious optimism. But it's going to take time. We both have a lot of work to do. And just like that, something shifted between us. It wasn't a magical fix, but it was a start. We both had a long road ahead of us, filled with difficult conversations, healing, and the possibility of forgiveness. I wouldn't let anger dictate my actions anymore. I was choosing to confront my pain and work through the mess together. I had to believe that love could still exist between us, even amid the ashes of betrayal. Let me know when you're ready for the next part. As the weeks rolled on, I found myself navigating a complex labyrinth of emotions. Attending therapy sessions with Sarah felt like standing on the edge of a precipice, teetering between hope and despair. I couldn't deny that there were moments where I felt a glimmer of the love we once shared, but they were often overshadowed by the weight of her betrayal. Our therapist, Dr. Wilson, was a calm, wise presence who guided us through the delicate process of unpacking our feelings. Each session forced us to confront our issues head-on, peeling back layers of hurt and disappointment. I had never imagined that discussing our problems could be so exhausting, yet enlightening at the same time. Sarah was open during these sessions. She expressed her feelings of loneliness and neglect, admitting that she had drifted away from me emotionally long before she sought validation from Liam. Hearing her vocalize those feelings was both painful and enlightening. It made me realize how much I had been caught up in my own life, focusing on work and missed opportunities for connection. Mike, I need you to know that I never wanted to hurt you, she said during one session, tears pooling in her eyes. I was just looking for something to fill the void, and I made the worst possible choice. What do you want me to say? I responded, trying to keep my voice steady. You made a choice to betray me, and that's not something I can just forget. I get it, I really do, she replied, her voice cracking. But I'm here and I want to fix this. I want us to reconnect, to be the people we were when we first fell in love. As the sessions progressed, I found myself grappling with the duality of my feelings. Part of me was still angry and hurt, while another part was willing to listen, to empathize, and to understand. I knew that healing wouldn't occur overnight, but I was willing to work through it. I wanted us to find our way back to each other. Things started to shift in our daily lives as well. We began making small efforts to reconnect outside of therapy. Date nights returned, albeit with a different energy. Instead of the mindless routines we'd settled into, we tried to be more intentional, going for walks, cooking together, or having deep conversations about our fears and hopes. One evening, while cooking dinner together, I caught a glimpse of the Sarah I remembered, the one who laughed easily, who teased me about burning the garlic bread, and who playfully tossed flour at me. It was a bittersweet reminder of what we once had. Do you remember that time we made that disastrous souffle? I asked, trying to spark some levity. Oh my God, yes, I thought we'd burn the kitchen down. She laughed, and for a moment it felt like the weight of our troubles had lifted. I couldn't help but smile. I think we still owe Buddy a proper dinner after what we put him through that night. As we shared laughter and stories, I felt hope creeping in. Perhaps there was a chance for us after all. But just as things began to feel normal, the reality of our situation came crashing back when I received a call from a reporter. The fallout from Liam's scandal had only intensified, and the media was still in a frenzy. They wanted to get my side of the story, to hear about how Sarah's affair had impacted me. "Hello, Mike. I'm with the National Sports Review," the reporter said, his tone professional yet intrusive. "We're still covering the ramifications of the Liam Hart situation, and we'd like to get your perspective. Would you be open to discussing how this has affected your life?" I felt a surge of anger and indecisiveness wash over me. Part of me wanted to set the record straight, to share my side of the story, but another part of me, one that had been working toward healing, wanted nothing to do with reliving the pain. "I'm not interested," I replied curtly, my heart racing. "Are you sure? This could be a chance for you to speak out, to raise awareness about infidelity and its consequences," he persisted. I hung up, my hands trembling. The phone call threw me off balance. I had set out to bring Liam down for what he had done, but hearing that reporter's voice made me realize how easy it would be to get swept back into that cycle of revenge. It was a slippery slope, and I didn't want to fall back into that trap. When I shared the call with Sarah that evening, I could see the tension in her face. "You need to be careful, Mike. Opening up about this could lead to more trouble, not just for you, but for us," she cautioned, her tone serious. "I know," I said, running a hand through my hair, "but it feels like an opportunity to turn the narrative around. I could finally get closure. Or it could blow everything up again," she replied, her voice heavy with concern. "We're still fragile, and I don't want to risk what we've built so far." Her words resonated with me. I had to decide what was more important, my desire for retribution or the path we were trying to carve out together. I took a deep breath and made a decision. "I'm going to let it go," I said finally. "I don't want to reopen old wounds. I want to focus on us and our healing." Sarah's eyes softened and a small smile crept onto her lips. "Thank you, that means a lot." As we moved forward, I kept reminding myself that I had a choice. I could either dwell on the pain or embrace the possibility of healing. It wouldn't be easy, but I was willing to put in the work. Every step we took brought us closer to understanding, forgiveness, and perhaps a new beginning. Let me know when you're ready for the final part. The weeks following my decision to let the reporter's call go were a transformative period for Sarah and me. We continued our therapy sessions, but now they felt less like interrogations and more like discussions filled with mutual understanding. The emotional walls we had both built were slowly crumbling, and I could see glimmers of hope shining through the cracks. As the dust settled around Liam's scandal, we were both aware of how fragile our situation remained. Every time we faced a challenge, whether it was discussing our relationship or dealing with the aftermath of the affair, I felt the weight of our trust hanging in the balance. But as painful as it sometimes was, we both knew we were committed to doing the work. One evening, as we sat on the couch after dinner, I turned to Sarah, who was curled up with a blanket, watching an old sitcom. "You know, I was thinking about what you said in therapy last week," I began, feeling a mix of vulnerability and determination. She glanced over, intrigued. "Which part?" "When you talked about feeling lonely, even when I was right beside you," I continued, my voice steady. "It made me realize that I wasn't really present in our marriage. I was so focused on work and everything else that I didn't see the signs. I'm sorry for that." Her eyes softened and I could see the pain reflected in them. "I'm sorry too. I should have communicated better instead of seeking attention elsewhere. I lost sight of what we had." We shared a moment of silence, the weight of our shared regret hanging in the air, but instead of feeling heavy, it felt almost liberating. This was the first time we were openly acknowledging our flaws without pointing fingers or assigning blame. "Do you think we can really rebuild?" Sarah asked tentatively. "I hope so," I replied, feeling a sense of determination swelling within me. "I think we can if we continue to be honest and committed to each other. We can't just go back to how things were, but we can build something new, something stronger." As we continued to navigate our journey, I noticed subtle shifts in our relationship. We began to trust each other again, slowly but surely. We started taking weekend trips, re-exploring places we loved, and creating new memories. Each shared laugh and intimate moment was a stepping stone toward rebuilding what we had lost. One day, we decided to have a date day. It was a spontaneous idea, and as we wandered through a local farmer's market, I realized how much I had missed these simple pleasures. The sun was shining, and the air smelled of fresh produce and baked goods. We picked up some strawberries and pastries, laughing at the absurdity of haggling over the price of tomatoes. It felt like we were rediscovering each other in a way I thought was lost forever. Later that evening, as we sat on our porch enjoying the fruits of our labor, I turned to Sarah, a sparkle of joy in my eyes. "This is nice," I said, savoring the moment. "I've missed this." "Me too," she replied, her smile genuine. "I didn't realize how much I needed it." As the sun set, casting a warm glow around us, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. We had both fought hard to reach this point. I didn't know what the future held, but I was willing to embrace it together. I knew there would still be challenges ahead, remnants of betrayal that might linger in the back of our minds. But I also knew that as long as we were committed to facing those challenges together, we would be okay. Reflecting on everything that had transpired, I realized that while the pain of infidelity could tear a relationship apart, it could also serve as a harsh wake-up call. It forced us to confront our flaws, our needs, and our desires. And through that confrontation, we had the opportunity to grow stronger, both individually and as partners. As I looked into Sarah's eyes, I felt a sense of warmth and hope. I didn't want revenge anymore, I wanted healing. I wanted to build a future with her that was rooted in honesty, communication, and love. And perhaps that was the greatest victory of all. With a renewed sense of purpose, I took her hand and squeezed it gently. "Here, to new beginnings," I said, my voice filled with hope. "Here, to us," she replied, and in that moment I knew we were ready to face whatever came next together as a team. The end.